Okay. So the president spoke yesterday. The headline in the Star today is saying what? I have fulfilled 5 of the promises in just 90 days.
Yes.
Yesterday was the 90th day of President William Ruto's administration since the day he was sworn in.
Yes.
Not according to the Muga calendar of since the day he witnessed the swearing in of his principal secretaries. It is since the day William Ruto himself took the oath of office as President of the Republic. 90 days yesterday. 100 days on the 22th of December. Sindio?
Yes.
Higher. So among the things that he says he has done, number 1, police reforms. We have seen the exit of Inspector General of Police and DCI, the disbandment of an SSU, the new Inspector General, new DCI, blah, blah, this and the other. He's given them authority to incur direct expense as the police, and now there's an accounting officer in the police department itself with the police service. They are running their own budget, although their budget is not directly coming to them. It's, of course, anyway, those are details. We have seen, what else?
Judges appointed.
Judges.
We have seen people, the promise to have people removed from CRB and to regularize that whole system.
That was done.
It was done. Reduce the cost of taking loans. We've seen, according to his advisement and guidance, the cost of taking loans such as Visa reduced by about 50%. We've seen things like this actually happen. The Hustler Fund has been delivered.
Right.
People have taken loans. People have even started returning the money that they have borrowed to the tune of 1.1 billion shillings.
They are repaying.
They are repaying their loans. Out of 7 billion so far, in just a week or two, Abi,
Yes.
1.1 billion has already been returned.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. And he has made several other promises.
Can I tell you the promises that he made yesterday?
Please tell us.
All right, here we go. Number 1, he's going to build a 100,000 kilometer digital expressway. Sorry, I take it back. He's going to build a 100,000 kilometer digital superhighway to allow internet access to homes, cities, towns.
Expressway unalipa.
Very, very different. You unalipa. Okay? So I'm sorry.
Wait, but there's no indication whatsoever whether it's going to be free or not.
The name. Thika Superhighway is free.
It's free. Highway. Free.
Nairobi Expressway you pay.
Highway to Hell is also free. Okay.
You have to earn that one. You don't just go. You think you just go to hell?
You pay.
You have to try really hard to actually get there. Yes. Please continue.
It is going to connect homes, cities, towns, and every part of Kenya. Number 2, transfer 85%, about 5,000 services of the remaining government services to the digital space in the next how many? 6 months. Deliver fertilizer subsidy to 1.3 million farmers through an e-voucher to eliminate brokers and cartels. So brokers and cartels, you are living in your last days. Deliver 1 million tech jobs in partnership with technology and digital space leaders. Actualize the dream of home ownership by delivering housing units.
Could you count? Because that's number 5.
This one I'm saying is number 5. Or you want me to be counting?
Saying 5.
Okay.
This 6. This number you.
Okay.
It all sounded like it is one promise.
Okay, no,
there are different promises.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Please continue with number 5.
Number
5.
Number 5.
Yes, thank you very much.
Actualize the dream of home ownership by delivering housing units with monthly installments of between 2,500 shillings and 10,000 shillings. Number 6,
okay, we're with you now.
Kenya Industrial Estate, CT, one of your favorite things, to provide coaching and mentorship to 100,000 entrepreneurs.
Okay, just coaching. Our party pesa, no money being given?
We're boss. Coaching and mentorship.
So mentorship equals money.
Coaching and mentorship. Halafu, number 7, confer citizenship to the Pemba people living in Kilifi County. And guess what? The process has already begun.
To do what again to the Pemba who?
To confer citizenship to them. So they're not Kenyans as we speak. To convert Kenyan citizenship to the Pemba people living in Kilifi County. And the process has begun. It's not just a promise in the air. This one is Kwa.
This sounds like a
Kwa ground.
Kwa ground. Number 8, partner with Nairobi County to recruit at least 11,000 youth to grow a minimum of 1.5 million trees in the city's open and public spaces. Number 9, chiefs to rally people. Okay, sorry. Chiefs.
That's a promise.
Yes, wait.
Chiefs to
I've
do
not
what?
finished. Give me a minute.
To plant trees.
I'm breathing. Chiefs to rally people to grow 3,000 trees weekly. Now, before I get to number 10, in
What is this?
that means every week, 3,000.
Is it to grow or to plant?
I'm reading
Yeah, I'm seeing. I'm looking.
I'm reading what it said. Okay? I read it again.
Yes.
Chiefs to rally people to grow. To grow 3,000 trees weekly. We're going to have a lot of trees.
No, wait a moment. This is
to
not to plant.
Grow.
I think he means plant one.
Still grow.
Yeah, but you can't grow them weekly. I mean, you plant them, you water them.
Weekly.
Listen to what he said.
Number
Every
10.
chief, specifically, every chief shall dedicate at least 1 day per week for a public baraza cum tree planting drive, in which the public will be mobilized to plant and grow at least 3,000 trees weekly within the respective locations. Si kupanda tu na kuenda nyumbani. You panda and you tender.
You know.
Can you see grow? You still okay?
All right,
it's a simultaneous action. It can be planting and growing. I mean,
You
very
look
good.
after that tree.
Number 10, rebuild and monetize sports and creatives industry through the Talanta Hela plan. Sawa?
Atitala?
Talanta Hela.
Sawa.
Talanta Hela is pesa, sindio?
So kuna Talanta Hela, kuna Hustler Fund, kuna...
There's many things. We will not be left out
Meet in
anywhere.
Nairobi. Ati how many people is Sakaja going to hire?
11,000.
To do what?
To grow a minimum of 1.5 million trees in the city's open and public spaces. They're going to recruit these 11,000. Their job is to be planting trees.
Okay. And what about the other? Okay, the partnership I understand with the city, Nairobi City County. But what about the other counties? It's just an uni chief.
Chiefs. That's a chief. See, their chiefs are nationwide. Yeah, that's
So
why they said
perhaps
chiefs.
Nairobi is going to be pilot where from Nairobi you can see how
Let
it
me
is
ask
done.
you.
Nairobi is taking a hit when it comes to environmental degradation.
People. You know.
Why are you angry?
He's not angry. It's
And I'm getting worked up by Ruto and Sakaja.
It's the table that has upset him.
Listen.
Yes.
So, because this is something that Sakaja had mentioned one time, first of all, he's getting trees. He
did.
Some free trees.
Oh, the palm trees.
Those ones, forget about that first.
Okay, so
This thing of growing trees and saying that you're going to hire youth
11,000.
and you pay them per week. It was coming to about something like 6,000 bob per week or something like that.
Per
or
person.
Per person, right? 2,000 a week, 8K or something like that a month. And their job is to plant and grow trees.
So
This is just kazi mtaani.
it is Kazim Tani.
What for? What are we talking about here? Listen, Nairobi has Karura Forest. Sindio?
It has.
It has Ngong Forest.
It has.
It has Ololua Forest.
It has.
It has Nairobi Arboretum.
It does.
It has, wachana City Park, hiyo mulikula yote mkakata, whatever. Those 4 forests are within Nairobi. Who manages those forests? The Kenya Forest Service.
Yes, it does.
Right? They're here. They're managing the forest.
Yes.
Why not give them the job of planting the trees?
what is with the duplicity of effort? Why can't you just strengthen the structures that are already existing? And then these folks that you have who are readily available to do other things, place them elsewhere. What happens to the people, just like you said, who are there for this job anyway? That's what they
That's
do.
what they do.
why
Ruto
they are
said
there.
Kenya Forest Service is going to get extra forest officers and extra forest rangers. See, he said that already.
Yes.
And then now we're going to hire youth
Nairobi.
who will come and...
Be planting
So
trees.
you'll go to a certain person who has a tree nursery, you'll take some trees and then you'll come here and you'll plant. And this guy, his only job is to plant a tree and get paid.
Perhaps we've misunderstood.
What?
Maybe there's a different way.
No. What makes you think that these are diametrically opposed? What if the 11,000 are going
Will
to
be absorbed.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Or they'll
You are
be
a far-seeing man who understands
attached to the
things
Kenya
quickly.
Forest Service.
Precisely, because you see, among the duties that will be assigned to them will be the planting and growing of trees. But in addition to that, perhaps the normal kazi mtaani things of sweeping and whatever it is that they used to do in kazi mtaani will also continue.
Ruto mwenyewe, when he was mocking Kazi Mtaani, In fact, when Ruto went to launch the Kibera housing project, what did he say about kazi mtaani? Vijana wetu kazi yao si kufagia na kutoka takataka. Sasa vijana wetu ni kazi yao ni kupanda miti.
He actually derided that particular process. Yes,
and now he's saying our vijana are going to stop sweeping. They'll actually start planting and watering trees. Hiyo ndio kazi ya vijana wetu sasa. Kubeba maji na kajerican kumwagilia mti.
What are you asking is after they planted the trees, then what?
This? Yeah.
The capacity that...
And how much money are we talking about?
Indeed.
How much? What is this? How much money are we just talking about? Oh, we're going to have 11,000. The problem that we had with Kazim Tani, P.S. Hinga is still in office. Among the challenges that he was facing with Kazim Tani was people who are supposed to be getting paid and they're not getting paid, but money has been disbursed.
Yes.
Or money has not been disbursed. That whole issue of lack of clarity on who has done what, who's working, who's getting paid, people pocketing that money.
And then there was a budget issue because a certain amount was budgeted for, and after a certain period of time, that money ran out. Then what do you do?
And yet that money, it was 10 billion shillings. That money never went to the youth.
It went elsewhere.
It went elsewhere. 11,000 youth to be hired by Sakaja. Sakaja kazi yako ni kupanda miti. Toa takataka Nairobi bwana. I'm getting worked up by this story, by the way.
You know, let's look at the effort that is being made to do certain things that might be useful.
Yeah.
That's where I prefer to focus my mind. Okay?
Okay.
And let's also not lose sight of the fact that our president is a politician. And the politicians, on a day like Jamhuri Day, when you have the attention of the whole country, you will say things.
Yeah, but Siti, you've got the seat, man. You are the president. Unless an act of God or otherwise, you are the president. You don't have to campaign anymore. You don't have to tell people, I will do this in order for you to give me your vote. Man, you're there. So this is the thing. How about the structures that are existing, for which you said we're going to make them stronger? Use them. Make decisions that actually make it look as though you have your handle on things.
You don't seem to think that this is precisely it. What we are witnessing is precisely the realization of the very thing that you're saying. It's not just a question of promises. Remember, these are being said against a backdrop of what has been achieved in 90 days. So in order that we may fulfill this, we may breathe life into the hustler narrative.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that we want to do. And everything that I see being mentioned here, there's nothing wrong with what's being mentioned here. Especially this citizens of Pemba. This one I liked particularly.
Yeah.
Recognizing these people have been living here for the longest time.
And why do we do this thing piecemeal, by the way? We recognized Pemba today. Last year we recognized, what do we call that? The previous year we recognized the Indians. The other, so we were recognizing the people who are from the Shona, from Zimbabwe. Then the other one was... Why do we recognize them peaceful? Why don't just look at who's been in this country?
Yeah, but then if we open that particular floodgate, and I'm using the word floodgate deliberately, then we also have issues with citizens of this country who happen to come from northeastern Kenya. The issue of their identification and the way that matter is handled, again, it reeks of discrimination. And the truth of the matter is that a little regularization and understanding about the entire concept of citizenship, you want to open it up for discussion.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's a conversation that can be had in terms of, all right, so how, because the Somali community has been recognized as part of Kenya, okay? You're born in Kenya and all. You just say, where are you from? I'm from this county. What tribe are you? I'm Somali. Fine. The problem with the people of Pemba, they don't have IDs.
No, they don't.
You were born where? Kilifi. What's your tribe? Pemba. You're not in our list. That's it. You don't get an ID. That means you don't get to own anything in this country. That's the issue. So let's... Anyway, I'm getting this feeling that there is a lot of ukora that's already creeping into this government. Okay? Look at this. Let me read this, what the president said. The rains are finally here. Our farmers are now ready to give Kenya a bumper harvest, improve food supply, and drive down the price of food, the single biggest driver of the cost of living. They'll achieve these goals using affordable fertilizer and certified seeds. The government, working with the private sector, has engaged suppliers to import 300,000 metric tons, that's 6 million bags of fertilizer. A consignment of 2 million bags has already landed at the port of Mombasa, and the remaining 4 million will arrive in the first week of January in time for the long rains. So, 6 million bags by mid-January will be in the country. The government will continue to subsidize the price of fertilizer, and farmers will buy the fertilizer at 3,500 shillings a bag. Now, we have had issues with fertilizer importation, fertilizer subsidy, distribution of fertilizers going to the intended beneficiaries. All right? I am not hearing anything that's being said by the president, by Medeka Linturi, or by his PSAs on how this time the actual farmer, like our friend from Ainamoi, Joel, will actually go and walk to Serious Board, go home with fertilizer bag worth 3,500 and use it in his farm. I'm not hearing that. The best thing I'm hearing here is that the private sector has already been identified and has already been told, you bring the fertilizers. And the government is subsidizing. Yeah. That means that however much you, private supplier, you're buying this fertilizer for, I will buy it at your price. I will sell it to the farmer at 3,500. How much is the government buying that fertilizer for?
And where
is that competitive? Is that competitive? Question number one. Okay? Question number two. This 11,000. The other one is, of course, the biggest one for me, which is concluded this is a criminal enterprise. Remember what the Honorable Moses Wetangula, EGH, a.k.a. Papa Waroma, did when he was in the Senate. He chaired a committee that was established, a select committee, to investigate the, what was it called? MES.
Yes, the scandal.
The medical equipment scheme, okay, across the country. Their report, although it was heavy at the top and completely empty at the bottom, which is why it mattered, their report started by saying the concept of the medical equipment scheme was a noble concept. It was going to move this country's health system very far. However, this concept was hijacked and turned into a criminal enterprise. And they went on and on and on and on. They failed in saying what should be done about it.
Yeah, or naming who was responsible for it. Yeah.
This time we have the Hustler Fund. The president says the Hustler Fund is actually a very good thing. Let me read what the president is talking about the Hustler Fund before we take the break. Iko wapi sasa, imepotea.
Taratibu pole pole. Hapo. Let's go on the break, Eric.
We go on the break?
Yes, then after the break, we'll give it the details, analysis that it requires.
Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Affordable housing project in Kibra said, hii kazi ya mitaa hii.
Mitaa.
Kazi ya mitaa. Vijana wetu wanatumua kufagia kuokota takataka. Kazi ya kuokota takataka ni kazi ya Sakaja. Okay?
Si vijana wetu.
Si vijana wetu. Vijana wetu waandika kwa hii kazi ya affordable housing. Watapata kazi.
Watapata ujira kwa ujenzi.
Watapata ujira na watajenga madirisha, milango na watapata kazi ya ujenzi. Now 11,000 of those vijana wataenda kusaidia Sakaja kupanda miti. Haya, this is what the president said yesterday about the Hustler Fund. Perhaps more profound is the launch on November 30th of the Hustler Fund, an innovative revolving fund combining credit and savings to support and empower many Kenyans access affordable credit. The fund is available on digital platforms and accessible to individuals on their own. As of this morning, the 13th day since the launch, the fund had disbursed 7.5 billion Kenya shillings. At the same time, 15.4 million Kenyans had registered for the fund. Before the expiry of the 14-day repayment period, 1.1 billion shillings has since been repaid and nearly 400 million mobilized in savings. It is clear under this program that Kenyans have found a platform to save. Clearly, Kenyans know the value of borrowing and paying, contrary to the rhetoric of skeptics. By all accounts, this is revolutionary. And then he just paused there and he went off the cuff a bit and he said, my fellow Kenyans, you leaders who are complaining here and making noise, you guys are accessing mortgage at 3%. What's wrong with Kenyans getting credit at 8%? And they are repaying. You think that these people do not want to repay. They want to repay, and you can see they are actually engaging and actively repaying. What is more is that the platform that is managing the Hustler Fund was developed locally. Now, okay, this is what we are being told. Who is reporting to the president about the 7 billion shillings that has been disbursed, the 1 billion shilling that has been repaid, the 400 million shillings that has been saved? Who's reporting this to the president?
Who's telling him? Who's giving this information?
Who's giving him this information? Because the law, the Public Finance Management Act, says that this fund shall be managed by a board and a secretariat.
Yes, it does.
The board shall comprise 8 members. Chairman appointed by the president, not in consultation and concurrence with the prime minister, No, the president shall make a decision on who becomes chairman of the board of the Hustler Fund. Number 2, member, PS for MSMEs. Number 3, PS for industrialization. Number 4, PS in the National Treasury. Number 5, Attorney General. Number 6 and 7, 2 persons appointed by the CS for SMEs. And number 8, the CEO of the fund, who, of course, shall be hired and recruited by the board. Now, the president has not done what he's supposed to do. Appoint the chairman of the Hustler Fund. Oh, no, the Financial Inclusion Fund.
Thank you.
President has not done that. The president has not gazetted this board. Or the PS, the CS for SMEs has not gazetted this board. The board has not then sat and appointed a secretariat to run this. So who is disbursing this money and who is reporting this 7.5 billion shillings that has been disbursed? Who is receiving the 1.1 billion shillings that has been repaid? Who is keeping the 400 million shillings that has been taken into savings? Who?
Who should be? Maybe that's what I should ask.
The fund, board, and secretariat.
So now, if there is no fund, board, or secretariat, then the person who ought to be is not. So are we talking about contravention of things that ought to be?
You know,
Complete.
Completely.
No.
Total.
Not complete. Absolute.
Because surely, if the person who is supposed to do this does not exist, then the entire operation of this whole thing is...
He's a ghost.
Casper. Boo.
He's a ghost. Number 2.
Oh, there's more.
The Public Finance Management Act says that no shilling of government shall be spent without the say-so of Parliament.
Oh.
Okay? Parliament appropriates money to be spent by government. 50 billion shillings has not been appropriated by Parliament to be used for Financial Inclusion Fund.
So, have we heard that the plenary has sat and discussed this matter and then given parliamentary approval for this money to be spent in the process that they normally do when money will be spent at whatever level?
Heard.
Have we heard?
A request has not come from the National Treasury for appropriation of 50 billion shillings or any amount to a Financial Inclusion Fund.
Omo.
This hasn't happened.
Is,
So where is this money coming from? Which money are we talking about?
whose money is being used here?
Deeper than that, without a board in place to manage the fund, in whose account is the 400 million shillings savings sitting? Okay. Who is taking the 1 billion shillings that has been repaid? Who's receiving it? Who procured this innovative, locally grown tech that is being used to run this thing?
Since it's local.
Since it's local. How was it procured?
Because everything government usually falls under the category of what you call an open tender.
Yes.
Everyone knows about it. All the rules and regulations regarding that particular process is out in the open.
Yes.
So we even know the people who contended for it, and we also know the person who was then selected. And reasons as to why they were selected is also given, all in the public domain.
Look, it almost seems as though there would be this widespread euphoria about this fund, and that nobody will start to ask the questions as to whether it is properly constituted.
Yep. Well, that's legal.
Or legal from the very beginning. It is that the president has said there will be a fund. And then soon after he's been sworn in, the government is in place, here is the fund. And that it is thought that people would be very happy to say, yes, it's been delivered. Forget about the fact whether it is in the manner in which he promised it would be. Forget about that. Those are details. That it is actually here and people can dial a number on their phones and they can borrow money in your account. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that nobody would ask questions about how this thing is really done. Because the question that must be asked today, whether you like it or not, where is this money coming from?
Yep.
If it is coming from Treasury, who has allowed that the money leave Treasury? Number 3, when money leaves Treasury, it has to be a public process that people must know, and this is now lived out through Parliament. That Parliament comes and says, from Treasury, we've received this request. Shall we deliberate? Yes, we shall. Can we allow you to spend it? Yes or no? The process continues. If these things did not happen, we're dealing with a huge illegality here across board, and nobody can even question it. We're dealing with a huge one here. And then, who is it left up to say, hold on, slow your roll, stop this thing?
Parliament. Same Parliament. The majority minority members of Parliament are the ones who have sat back and abrogated their role, and it's being usurped and taken by an executive. At this very juncture, that's what's happening. If indeed this is not private money that we are being given and we are being told we are borrowing and
that
repaying
somebody is
at
loaning
8%,
you their investments.
If not somebody who is actually running a private scheme, lending you money, 7 billion shillings they've lent you, and they expect you to repay at 8%. And when you are repaying inclusive of some 5% that was deducted, and they are calling it a saving. And they are not telling you
where
this saving of yours, where it is, how much interest your saving is earning, and all that. That's why I'm calling this, it's a pure and simple thing to use the Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula's words. This is a criminal enterprise. Pure and simple.
In the absence of a plausible explanation that follows the laid down processes that government has for any such endeavor, what alternative does one have really? I mean, how else do you look at it?
There's no other way now.
Chiti, today if you dial star 25254 hash, right, and you went to borrow that money, say you are told, all right, your limit is 500. You say, Sawa, give me the 500. They take 5% of it, right? So they give you 475 bob, and you're required to pay, okay? How do we know that your 500 is what the president is reading out? How do we know that the people who are giving Ruto the information are actually not saying that CT was given 5,000 shillings?
We don't.
How do you know how many people have borrowed?
How do we even know they're not saying I was given 50,000?
Exactly.
Because it's within the limits that has been mentioned, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's just, look, without these instruments in place, really, it's just somebody saying, it could be your guy. Oh, by the way, give me the report. It could be your guy saying, okay.
It's what? It is 7 billion.
It's 7 billion. And of that number, some 1.1 billion has come back.
Has been repaid.
How are you going to prove it? How, without proper records that can then be verified by the same board which is supposed to be constituted to do this?
The important bit is, according to the law, those records, the custodian of those records is one established by the law.
The law. Which
the
is
Financial Inclusion Fund Board. That is the custodian of those records. Anybody else who's holding those records today
is holding them illegally.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to them.
Not even doesn't even have the mandate to do so.
You know,
it's like saying you're going to allow a security guard sit in your living, somebody who's supposed to be guarding the estate, come and sit in your living room and then have access to everything in your house. Meanwhile, they're supposed to be watching outside.
They're watching inside.
They don't have the mandate to do it. Who is this person anyway?
You know the thing about structures and frameworks, as we refer to them, knowing human nature and the adverse qualities of human nature, even when you have structures, there will be individuals who will seek to subvert it.
Yep.
But the good thing about structures is you will know exactly when it has been abrogated. You will know.
Yep.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So, when there's a structure in place, if you go against it,
It will be
you
known.
will know.
It will be known.
If there is no structure in place,
What do you know? What can you know? And how will you know it?
And how can you then come and hold somebody responsible for what? Do you see? You're holding somebody responsible for what? You don't even know what's happening inside here. So how will you say you did or did not do when there are no rules? There are no beams. There's nothing. And it could be intentional. How's that for conspiracy? It could be intentional. So that these questions that you're asking, to whom will you ask?
You know, when President Kibaki, the former President Kibaki, opened up this space for what we now take for granted called personal loans, if you talk to people in the banking industry, one of the things that some institutions reported was that there were scams that actually took place. Okay? And the scams took place with people who worked within that same industry, understanding how that particular system worked.
Yep.
So those personal loans never really went to people per se. It came to them and whoever it is that they had planned with. And a lot of money went that route.
Yep.
Never reported, never spoken about in public, but it did. But how did they know? Because they had a system.
You could track back and
You
see.
could track back and see it. So you knew that this is exactly what's happening. And you could then stop it and institute better schemes, better programs that would now ensure that such a problem doesn't arise again.
Why not just do it right is my question. Very
That's the thing.
simply. Why not just do it right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yesterday, the president was talking about the skeptics. And I wondered, all right, so yeah, there are skeptics, fine. And it's good that you say, I mean, skeptics, look, there are people who are actually benefiting. Okay, you can say that. Yeah. But Mr. President, you know very well the procedure. Professor Njogona Ndongo at the National Treasury initiated that procedure by drafting regulations under the PFM Act, went around the country, collected views, took them to Parliament, they were passed in Parliament. That means there's a law entrenching the Hustler Fund. That law creates these structures. The structures, of course, the president saw these regulations before they were even published. And he saw that role number one is his, appointing a chairman of the board. That all the people running this fund shall start from the president's office. He knows it. The Attorney General is a member of this board. The Attorney General advises the President. The Attorney General is a immediate former Speaker of the... In fact, he's not even forgotten how to say order. Maybe even sits there in the cabinet and says order.
There hasn't been enough time for him to forget.
Yes. So he knows what should be done.
And he is the legal advisor to the...
Government and the President.
Yes.
All right? These things are not happening. William Ruto has carefully cultivated a persona and image of a man who is a hardworking man, a diligent man. He does not take alcohol. He wakes up early. He sleeps late. He is on top of everything. He's a hands-on president. All right? He works very hard. He knows everything that's happening.
It's not possible that you forget.
So it's not possible that he can be talking about 7.5 billion shillings disbursed, blah, 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 blah.
And there's no structure for it.
That there's no structure for it.
Sorry.
So you ask yourself, why is the president and his people doing this?
You really have
It's
to ask
not
the
a
question,
difficult...
isn't it?
I mean, it's not like
it's not difficult conclusions.
It's not like he's required to go around the country with somebody and say, do you guys approve this person to be the chairman? No, all he needs to do is...
appoint one.
Appoint. I have 4 other members. Quorum for this thing is 4. If I appoint the chairman and I gazette this thing tomorrow, they'll start running.
Another job.
Done.
Go to Parliament. I have the numbers. Jonah, go to Parliament, ask for a supplementary
release
budget.
This money. Release this money.
50
Move.
billion shillings into this thing. Get it done. Move. He has the goodwill, the leeway, the instruments, everything. Why is he not doing it?
Why not do it right? And do you see now why it would be so easy to arrive at conspiracy? Do you see how easy it's being delivered for a vacuum to be filled? right here, right now, and you want to ask yourself, underneath all of this confusion and this cloud, what is the long game? What is going on here with this fund? Because other things even easier in structure, other things even more difficult in structure and delivery, have the right instruments, have the correct procedure, have the correct structure, have the correct personnel working on it. This is easy. Why not do it? It is so easy to deliver conspiracy on this one because somebody's going to ask, all right, the amount of money we're talking about is no chicken change, number one. Number two, why then you have people who are saving money, they don't know where it's going, releasing money, we don't know where it's coming from. Somebody's holding money, we don't know who is holding it, we don't know who has come on. Anybody who wants to create a movie with great subtitles here has the leeway to do so because you've made it so easy.
You know, when you have a situation where questions arise and they're questions to which responses to are simple, really, and there are none, as you would say, boom. That situation, it's like you've germinated the very, very fodder you need for conspiracy. It's wide open.
You don't even have to go far.
And anything and everything can now play into that space.
Who will you blame today? All the different things that we hear, who are you going to blame today who says, wonderful, another avenue for somebody to come and, look for the profits that can be made off the top and then put it in their pocket? Who will you blame?
Or take off the entire amount.
Or says 50 billion out, and then you say, because you will be able to come and tell them later, actually, we do not know who it was who was operating because there was no structure. We don't know where this money was coming from because legislatively we did not give the leeway for that to happen through Parliament. Okay. Number three, we actually don't know where this money was being saved because also we did not put the instruments in place to make it happen. Who will you blame tomorrow? You won't blame anybody now. You won't say that actually, you know what? But if you have those instruments working, you are then bound by them.
Yes.
And here you are basically saying, we're going to continue with this thing. We're not going to be bound by anything. Should the doo-doo hit the fan, you will not be able to blame anybody.
Yep.
Nobody can hold you accountable or responsible. It looks like a long game. And who are you going to blame for coming up with such a conspiracy today? You can't. You have nothing to hold anybody to.
You know, if you look at the financial system that the world currently has, it works on something called a fiat. Okay? Essentially, it's the government producing paper. Literally, that's what it is. It's not backed by anything like gold or platinum or silver, a commodity that you can attach value to. The reason it has value is because we give it value.
Yes.
We accept it as currency.
Yes.
Okay? Now, take that thought and make it electronic. What you'll be talking about is something which in reality may not even exist, if you actually take your thought along that line. Because who do you need to be able to give somebody, electronic credit? What do you need for it? Do you need real money? What system do you need? How is it created? Why is it that M-Pesa, for instance, works? Why is it that Airtel Money works? Why is it that all these other electronic-backed systems work? Why? Because at some point, you, the person who uses them, actually you have a currency that is considered to be legal tender and has a value attached to it. You are the one who make it possible. Okay? Now, in a case such as this one, you open it so wide. You bring into being so many questions.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Beginning with regulations and processes that are already laid down to now financial issues and how it is even such a process should be regularized or should be run using the regulations that we already have in our system regarding such financial issues. There is actually no aspect of this entire process that you don't raise questions about. None. Everything that you can think of.
How did Goldenberg happen? This young man called Kamlesh Patni came up with an idea.
Yes.
We have an issue with accessing foreign exchange. How about we sort out export and then we facilitate exportation of goods through Kenya? We earn foreign exchange and then you can compensate the exporter. Right?
Yes, and you know what was interesting? it was the US government had actually backed that system. It was a way of trying to help Kenyans realize their export potential. And there was some rebate that you would get when you exported things.
Yep.
Something that other people elsewhere in the Western world considered to be of value.
Basically, the whole thing is to help it get foreign exchange in the market. Brilliant concept, noble concept, everything. What happened? A guy started saying that he's exporting gold, and yet he's exporting zero.
You know why?
And going to central bank and saying, look, here.
Give me my money.
Yeah, is shipment verification. Give me my money I exported.
You know, export requires some serious documentation. So that documentation represents the so-called gold.
Yes.
So if you understand the documentation and you present it, at some point somebody will ask, okay, fine, we understand it, but somebody has to receive it on the other end.
On the other side, yeah.
And there's a little element of verification. Do you know there were whistleblowers then? Did it not cost them?
Yeah.
Life.
First of all, you lose your job. The two gentlemen whose names keep coming up with regards to this, you lose your job, first of all.
Yeah.
That's the end of your job, and no one is willing to listen to you. Now, later on, when we referred to it as a scandal, was because the export system has a structure and a process. Okay? At some point, the verification that I speak of was brought into question. Okay, fine. Paper is okay.
trail.
Okay. Follow. You get to the other side.
Panga.
It was an ozone layer. Nothing had been delivered. And yet, the sort of money that had actually been, should we say, realized, if I may use that term, was a colossal amount.
And if you make the connect, because the question is, how do you make the connect with such a huge thing that happened and what we're seeing today? That is how it started.
That's right.
Very simple
50
thing that
billion
had no
shillings
structure.
is being lent
50 billion
out
shillings
to
is being
people,
lent out to people.
to their mobile devices, and they're signing nowhere.
Where is it coming from?
They are mobile phones that are borrowing.
And 5% is being saved. Where is it being stored? Where?
These questions must be asked, and I think they're dismissing it and they're skirting around the corners. Just do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
You know, if they're not, if those
way.
questions are not responded to now, they will have to be responded to in the future.
At some
Because
point.
Goldenberg cost people. There are people who died even before those cases were determined.
Yeah.
And these were high-ranking government officials.
Yes, indeed. Similar thing. But what we expect basically is, instead of Opio and I calling a press conference to tell us Raila is going to be busy on the 12th, he should be asking these questions in Parliament as leader of minority and the others.
And why are the
Why aren't they
questions
asking
not
these
being asked in
questions?
Parliament?
Instead of Babu Owino telling us, oh, you know who, how we lost.
don't
No.
Ask these questions in Parliament. This is the job that you've been given by the people of Embakasi East. These are the questions you should be asking.
And
get to
then
it.
when you question, our lawmakers will claim that they are being picked on. How? You have a duty. You know what it is. We know what it is. Do it.
Very simply so.
Aye.